citizens, locals, community stakeholders to come together and look at priorities that they themselves had identified, in the lead up to the validation. But by way of a preamble, I think it's important to state that the BASE consortium is constitutive of 5 local organizations championed by the Institute for Governance Reform, IGR. But then we have CAL, Center for Accountability and the Rule of Law. We've got IRN, the Independent Radio Network. We've got 50/50, and we've got BAN, Budget Advocacy Network. As a group, the consortium has been working, I think, for the past 1 year now with 6 local councils. And these 6 districts are Kono, Western Area, Kaine, Falaba, Tonkolili, and Mwamba districts.
And these are key strategic districts? They are.
There's a very purposeful approach as to how these districts were even selected in the first place. But at the outset, it's important to also mention that BASE is supported by the United States government, USAID, which has provided a 3-year grant, to support councils. And there is a very glaring need as to why this project even came in. The context has been, you see councillors, you see council chairmen who come into office, and the level of this, the high level of turnover, when you see after election, this guy comes in 1 year, 2 years, and then they say, oh, they do nothing for we. Councils operate in a very difficult environment. The own source revenue generation base is very weak. So that has traditionally led to, because citizens have expectations of council, so traditionally that has led to this growing mistrust between citizens and local councils. So again, that is reflected, like I've already mentioned, in the level of turnover, in how these people lose their seats. So BASE came in, and as well, when CSOs usually talk, we blast, we criticize, we don't constructively engage. I mean, traditionally that has been the way things have gone.
All the dynamics have changed.
Yes, so we came in and we spoke to, thank God the chairman Kono is here, and you'll hear from him in a bit, because Kono is one of the beneficiaries of this project. So we spoke to them at the very beginning to say, you know what, BASE wants to support. I mean, when we say we want to support, we don't have money to build bridges and schools. But what we can do is, how can we build the social construct between citizens and councils and developed sectors by extension? How do we all come together to talk about the issues that matter to us? So BAN, all the other partners have been engaged in different activities leading up to the local council plans. But as you will know, at the national level, we have the medium-term national development plan, which is really Sierra Leone's blueprint for development in the country. So it sets out, there are 5 big game changers, and all of these markers and indicators set out our trajectory to where we want to be in the destination.
So how do you localize that? How do you carve it in the local context to meet the needs and wants and aspirations of those in those local communities?
That is very important, and that's where the local council plans come in. Like you've alluded to rightly, Section 92 of the Local Government Act of 2022 as revised. It provides that local councils shall prepare development plans, and these shall form the development aspirations of the people. I mean, even the local council budget is contingent on that plan. So that's why, and again, I would mention, there's no greater affirmation of the support that we've been providing through the United States government than the presence of Kono in the room. So we supported councils, 5 councils at the beginning, with some funding to do needs assessment and consultations. How do you bring community people? So in Kono, for instance, there are 14 chiefdoms. So in every chiefdom, you had 50 citizens coming together, drawn from various cadres of society, to talk about what are the development priorities that are important to you.
So do you think these 50 people are enough to represent the aspiration of one chiefdom? To tell you these are the needs of our people in a particular chiefdom?
Yes, it's you've heard of sampling, yes, and indirect democracy as well evolved out of the need and concern that there was just no way all citizens in that chiefdom can come together.
They are tenure of democracy.
Yeah, so we just it's not logistically it's not possible to bring everyone together. So the 50 people, like I say, it's ensuring youth are represented, women are represented, the chiefs are there. The chairman can't speak about the process a bit more than I do, because it's important to know that someone like him was actually in the field. You know, he was out and about in the chiefdoms, talking to his people, canvassing their opinions, ensuring he hears from them on what is important. So if you go to Fiama chiefdom, is it roads? Which of the roads, which of the feeder roads, which of the bridges and culverts? Same for Tonkolili. You go to Tane, you go to all the chiefdoms. So 19 chiefdoms in Tonkolili, 14 in Moamba, 14 in Kono. All these, you had consultations and needs assessment in every one of them. So when all of these ideas were collated, we again went back to the councils. By the way, the consortium had already enlisted the support of at least 3 consultants to support the councils in this drive. Because it's not just about doing a plan, it's doing a plan that is fit for purpose. Yeah. It's ensuring that development trajectories of those communities change, and they cannot change if we do not provide a blueprint, a marker for success. That's what these plans are. So long and short, just to truncate the journey so far, we have had conversations with the Ministry of Planning. The Ministry of Planning in Freetown convened the meeting of MDAs and the private sector. Because it's important that these councils, itemize projects that they want to do over the next 5-6 years, but as well, it's equally important that they have a very, very good idea of how they're going to fund these projects that they've identified.
And some of those councils, the funding streams are not as productive compared to others.
Yes, true. Unfortunately, it's a mixed bag. Yeah. And then on-source revenue generation is a big challenge. So what one of our partners has actually done in Western area is to support the cadastral system. I mean, they have had a cadastral system, but over time that has not been working as well as they wanted. So BAN really has supported. So they had about 15,000 properties in the database before the project came in. And with BAN support, that went close to 30,000. The hope is that with more properties captured, you can get more citizens to pay their taxes. But as well, it's important that we keep talking to people. People know the work of councils, and they also understand the difficult environments in which councils operate.
Okay. Continue to be with us. He is Hassan Kalon, who is the program delivery coordinator of the BASE consortium. Well, still with local council. Now let's go to the eastern districts of Kono. Well, it is little over a year now since the new district council was inaugurated. Well, the district, which is rich in diamonds, has little to show from the proceeds of the precious metal, as poverty and underdevelopments are very visible, but for the few infrastructural developments that government has improved. Well, the council is fortunate to have a retired senior civil servant at the helm, and he is bringing to the fore his experience over the years in the civil service to help change the lives of the people. Well, the council have developed plans to drive development in the districts. With me in the studio is the chairman of the Kono District Council, Augustine Sheikh. Welcome to the program, sir.
Thank you very much, Miro.
So many issues to talk about in your plate this afternoon. But I want to take a cue. I want you to join the queue with Mr. Kalu's issue of the development plans of local council. Kono is of no exception, and you are part of the BASE consortium interest, if I could put it that way.
Absolutely. I think it's a good coincidence that I'm here with my colleague from IGR, who are actually joining their competencies with ours for us to have a plan. When we went and we saw the situation on the ground, our first thought was, how do we ensure that we change the narratives? And fortunately for us, we had the opportunity of the consortium coming on board. And normally in the public sector, when you see an opportunity, you jump on it and make the best use of it to see how we can leverage on it. So when we launched the consortium, as he said, there were 5 civil society organizations interested in governance issues. And all of them have been supporting us in various areas, especially in accountability, leadership development, and of course developing our strategic plan. And we started off by engaging them, and they informed us of the limitation of the resources they have. So they expected us to do these assessments at the chiefdom level. But we went further to also look at the framework that we ensure that we actually design a plan that we speak to the adaptive lives of our people. And there's no better way you can do that than actually going to speak to the people themselves. So we decided to fund our councillors who went on the ground, and they elected, the communities were requested to elect village development committees. Now we regard these committees as our own trustees, so that whatever plan we want to undertake or whatever project that are constructed, these people will be the trustees who will look after them and ensure that there is sustainability. So we went and elected those committees. So when we were given the quota of 600, we decided to disaggregate that number based on the size of the chiefdoms, because we have, bigger chiefdoms and smaller ones. And so we distributed the number of people that were to participate, and our councillors went to the sections, and they had the meeting of all the villages that constituted that section to have a brainstorming session as to what actually are their binding constraints, because we had got the sectors to share with us their sector priorities. So we use those as a guide and inform the communities that this is what the sectors want to provide. How do they match with your aspirations? So they are able to identify where some of these facilities are and in which state.
So were there at variance, what the people wanted and what was being proposed to them?
It was at variance, but we had to harmonize. So we went, and after the consultation at the section level, we came to the consultation at the chiefdom level. In fact, as he said, I led the process in 6 chiefdoms, very difficult chiefdoms. So we got, even the primary chiefs were involved, and in cases where they were not available, they had their speakers. So they also took the process very serious, because we were able to sensitize them that this is an opportunity they will have, and that once we finish with the plan, if you are left out, then you will not have the opportunity to be incorporated in our development strategy. So we conducted the plans, and we were able to get the views of our people. Secondly, based on the advice of IGR also, we were able to identify potential investment opportunities in all of those chiefdoms, because all of them have their own comparative advantage. So put all of them together, and then we handed them over to IGR so that they can have them consolidated and be able to. So
how optimistic are you with these development plans for your district, for example? What changes are you foreseeing in the future?
So far, even though we have not validated our plans yet because of some technical reason, and we'll soon work on that, we believe that once that plan is launched, it will provide the framework for the development of that district. And even before we validate it, we have already started looking at some of the building blocks, and we're putting structures together. And our approach to our own plan, our own district plan, which is going to be demand driven. It's not the type of supply driven where NGOs go and tell our people that this is what we will have. How can you fit into it? Sometimes you have projects that are not that have become white elephant because they are not used, because the communities were not consulted. But this time around, there was consultation, there was inclusion, because we ensured that all of the committees that were constituted in the villages, they had 50% women minimum, and then where they have visually challenged people, they are all involved.
Do you have timeline to meet some of these needs?
The plan is aligned to the government plan, which is for 7 years. And we'll be able to do what we could with the resources that we have, and where there are outstanding issues.
So who chooses what should be a priority?
Well, that has to be done by the council, because once we finish the validation and the plan is launched, then the council will now sit with all the other stakeholders, the chiefs, especially at the chiefdom level, so that when we have budget call circulars or budget sessions, we will now look at the plan and say, this is what government has provided, this is what we can mobilize, both from our own resources and from partners. And how do we ensure that we're able to distribute that based on the priorities that we have identified. And so we will ensure that every year some, interventions will be made, and this one will be carried over. And as I speak to you, we have gotten the chiefs to work with us, to collaborate with us. For example, this year we had a very peculiar season where the roads have become impassable.
Because of the heavy rains?
Because of the heavy rains. So the chiefs came to us and said, look, this is no longer a matter of concern, it's now an emergency. So what we did was to set up an ad hoc committee, and we went and got all the stakeholders in the district, including mining companies. And all of them were able to come with resources, including the diamond dealers, the produce buyers, the drivers union. As I speak to you, they are on the road trying to stabilize the road conditions so that we don't get cut off. So there has been some cooperation, and because of the fact that we have been very approachable, we've been very collaborative, we have actually got the confidence of the people, and whatever programs we want to put out, they are coming in, because they have realized that nobody can do it all by itself, but they have to also ensure that we put everything together so that we work jointly. Thank
you very much. Continue with us. He is Augustine Sheku, the chairman of Kenema District Council. It's Podium, reaching you live from the Sierra Leone Broadcasting Corporation. Let's go to the Office of the High Commission for Human Rights has concluded a one-day regional dialogue with commemorations, recommendations for effective independence, collaboration, accountability, capacity building, and the setting up of regional network of anti-corruption institutions, human rights commissions, and civil society organizations in Liberia, Sierra Leone, and beyond. Well, the one-day conference also was to put strategies on how corruption, to reverse the adverse effects of corruption and the enjoyment of human rights, and how anti-corruption institutions can actively participate in accountability mechanisms. So for more on the outcome of the regional dialogue, I have in the studios Freddie Kamara, who is the Deputy Executive Secretary, Human Rights Commission. Welcome to the program, sir.
Thank you very much.
What's the linkage between the fight against corruption and human rights?
Well, when we talk about human rights, we are talking about issues that affect the human being, and so in the world of human rights we talk about the generation of rights, civil and political rights. In fact, the second generation, which is economic, social, and cultural rights, we have issues like education, health, rights to employment, and all. So you can see that there is a clear link between the enjoyment of those rights and corruption. For example, if resources that are allocated for the for building the capacity of the health sector, are mismanaged or are misappropriated by public officials, that will affect the enjoyment of the right to health. Because the right to health is key, and if in fact when we talk about human rights, they are interrelated. If corruption impacts one right, it will affect others. The right to education, the right to health, and the right to employment. So there is a clear link between the fight against corruption and the enjoyment of human rights.
So how have anti-corruption bodies, how have they been complementing human rights commissions?
Yes, well, there is a background. For us in Sierra Leone, we have developed a strong relationship with the Anti-Corruption Commission of Sierra Leone by, first of all, having a framework. We have signed an MOU in which we partner in series of activities like public education and awareness programs. And we have even engaged in extracurricular activities. Last year, for example, when we celebrated the International Human Rights Day, they were invited and we were part of all of our activities, in terms of recreational activities. So we have a very strong foundation, and that's the background that led us to sharing our experience in Liberia, which maybe if you want me to...
Yeah, sure. So what's the aim of the, what is the, at the end of the, what is that you guys want to achieve?
Yes, well, there is a background.
Putting up synergies together.
Yes, there is a background to this whole idea. The representative of the Office of High Commissioner for Human Rights, Mr. Christian Mokusa, who is currently in Liberia, was one time representative in Sierra Leone, and he studied the Sierra Leonean model, the partnership that I told you about between the Human Rights Commission of Sierra Leone and the Anti-Corruption Commission, and even our strong relationship with civil society organizations. So when he was assigned to Liberia, he developed an idea to ensure that the Liberia Human Rights Commission and the Liberia Anti-Corruption Commission, he facilitated a program for them to come and study the Sierra Leone model. And so we were able to share. And so this was a return exchange visit, in which we had to even engage other key stakeholders in the integrity sector as well as wider community in the human rights sector. And so as a commission, we were part of that forum to share the Sierra Leonean experience, and there were key areas that we were able to exchange.
So did you guys have a convergence?
Yes, the convergent point is that we all want to see that every human being in the sub-region, Sierra Leone, Liberia, and now we talk about the Mano River Union, extended it to Ivory Coast. We want to see that corruption is minimized or totally eradicated in order for everybody to enjoy their human rights. And like I told you, when you talk about human rights, you talk about the first generation civil and political rights, and economic, social and cultural rights, and now we are moving on to the developmental rights. Okay. This issue of climate change, and it was glaring when we went to Liberia. This issue of flooding that we're talking about in Sierra Leone is also very alarming in Liberia. That was glaringly showed when we went to Liberia. But it's because of our intervention, as the human activities in the climate. And so, as a commission, we even told them that we have set a structure in terms of addressing climate change, in Sierra Leone, climate change and human rights. Okay,
Consul Fossa, he is Freddy Kamara, who is the Deputy Executive Secretary of the Human Rights Commission. The Sierra Leone Association of Journalists (SLAJ) has ended a 2-day annual general meeting in Bo to inform the association's constitutional response to emerging issues within the profession. The 2-day deliberations brought together hundreds of journalists to discuss the critical issues and pathways for the noble profession. Well, one of the highlights of this year's AGM was the adoption of a new constitution. For more on the outcome of the AGM, I have in the studio Alaji Malika, who is the National Secretary General of SLAJ. Welcome to the program.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay. Journalists all over the country converged in the second city of Bo, and so many issues were discussed. But what were the key issues for this year?
Yeah, thank you very much. Like you rightly said, we discussed so many issues during the 2-day session. And most of the most important ones, I can say now, we've strengthened our labor, our union status, because before now we used to operate as a union, but in year 2000, former President Taiba registered SLAJ as a company. So some people thought it fit that once we register as a company, we've moved away from the labor aspect of it. So one of the issues that we discussed is to reinstate our labor status, our union status, and we have also made it now legal by inputting it into our constitution, the IFJ status, because before now we've been paying our subscription fees to the International Federation of Journalists, so we thought it fit to capture that in the constitution. Additionally, members agreed that the foundation members and the long-term members, we should scrap them. Because if you check the history, we no longer have any of them.
There is no longer a foundation member.
Alive. Yes, so we agreed that the names of the foundation members should be put at the back of the constitution, the new constitution. But we don't have them again at the front, that's as it used to be. And also again in the area of membership, we discussed the issue of student members. We proposed that we should start getting student members with the idea that they will not have the voting rights, because they are students, they are not practicing journalists. But once they graduate at the university, they will be a full member.
What about those who are both practicing and students?
Yes, I'm coming to that. But the members said you either be a member or not a member. So for those that are students that are not practicing journalists, they scrap that proposal also. For those that are students and also members, before you apply to the university or college, you must have attained your WASC or GC requirement. And that is the requirement for someone to be a SLAJ member. You must have 5 WASC, including English language. So we will accept you based on your WASC results and your numbers of experience. So those people, we have no issue with them. We were only trying to see how best we can incorporate the students members, because the reason being, most students, once they graduate, they move away from the mainstream media. They have no interest in the media. So we thought it fit, we should catch them earlier whilst they are students. But the general body said no, we should not go into that. Again, you can recall in 2013, we adopted the SLAD gender equality policy. So it is now legal. We've inputted it again into the new constitution, despite the fact that members kicked against the 30% quota for the executive positions, because some female journalists argued that we should not give them that quota, they should fight.
So what was the consensus?
Well, the consensus is that we should not give them the 30%, they should fight for them for their position. Because our intention as an executive, we want to give our female counterpart 30%.
You want to reserve position
for them 30%, because you can recall for the last 5 years, there are 2 executives that we serve. We have at least 3 female members, so we want to maintain that moving forward. But membership said no, we should not.
Position should be fought for.
Yeah, they should fight for it, and then so we accepted. And again, we now have, in terms of strengthening our governance structure, we now have a procurement and policy, where if we want to do anything, there's a committee that will go and do the procurement. And then we also discussed the issue of internal auditor. Despite the fact that we have our external auditor, the Ekatili that people used to call KPMG, we now have a provision for internal auditing mechanism, wherein they will first do the auditing before our external partners come into board. Also, there was a proposal from the Anti-Corruption Commission when they did their system review in 2023. They proposed that anybody intending to contest for the seat of the presidency, that person should declare his or her assets. And then, but unfortunately, the general membership said no, we don't need that proposal, because there is a preceding proposal that executive members should start receiving stipend. And then they said no, it is purely voluntary. There is no way.
So once it's voluntary,
yes. So if it's voluntary and the membership said we should not give them any stipend, there is no need for them to declare their assets or neither declare their campaign funds. But what we ensure that we captured in the deliberation is that for anybody to contest for the office of the president, the vice president, and the secretary general, that person must have completed his first degree at least from a recognized university. We used to have it as a regulation or a resolution, but now we inputted it into the constitution. It is now binding that if you want to contest.
One position was scrapped according to the new constitution.
Oh yeah, no, that position has been dormant for over 6-7 years. That is the treasurer. Yeah. We already have a financial.
But it is now the constitution has addressed that.
Yes. We no longer have the treasurer, and then all the other positions we maintain them, because during the consultation, the committee reported to us that they presented about 4 different structures. There is one particular structure that states we should only vote for the president, and then the president appoints his or her executive, and then another proposal for us to vote in the president and the secretary general, and then they appoint the other members of the committee, and then there's another proposal for us to go ahead with the existing structures, while there was another proposal for us to scrap the office of the treasurer, the public relations officer, and the assistant secretary general. So all those proposals were struck out, and then we move along with the existing structures.
Okay. But I mean, another contentious issue was the one for those who are having political appointments.
Yes, we discussed that again.
Many times after elections, we saw some of our colleagues receiving appointments from government, but some of them are still very active members of SLAJ.
Yes, now we've made it very clear. If you have a political appointment, you can vote, but you cannot be voted for. And then there are another thing again,
excluding someone from SLBC, for if the regional SLBC is appointed, for example.
Yes, the SLBC, the Slana, we captured them because they are purely working on media-related issues.
Sure, yeah.
For as long as you're working outside the mainstream media, you should have no business dealing with this large executive. For as long as you're working outside the mainstream media. For example, you cannot be working for the Bank of Sierra Leone and then you hold an executive position in SLAD, because there will be conflict of interest.
But there's only one person I'm told in the current SLAD executive that holds.
Well, now we have a law.
So now
moving forward, yes, because now
so the person ceases to hold his or her position.
The committee is doing now the editing and the amendments, because we made some modification amendment during the deliberation. So once they present it to the general membership, for us to make sure that what we agreed is what they presented, and then we can move from that angle. Okay. Again, there's another provision that states if you are a practicing journalist, active journalist, once you move outside the mainstream media, like for example, you are now public relations comes, your membership automatically moves from the full members to associate member.
So do you vote?
If I vote for what?
No, does the person vote?
As an associate member?
Yes.
No, but for as long as you're an associate member, you're not a full member. You are not a full member.
But that was very contentious also.
Yes, we deliberated and then they put it into vote. And so and then the majority carries the vote. You know, for us in SLAD, we also do whatever we do it democratically. We don't just say the ayes have it, so no, we do head counts. In fact, I was the one doing the counting. I was assisting the chairman of the program. I was doing the counting throughout the entire.
So you know, those in favor say aye, those against say.
So we are against that. So we do head counts.
Thank you very much. Well, he is the National Secretary General of SLAD, Alhaji Manika Kamara. It's Podium, reaching you from Freetown with me, Slbc. We are going for a short break. After the break, the program continues. We are back with the program Podium, which is coming to you live from Freetown. And I come to you again, Sir Augustine Sheku, the chairman of Kono District. Recently, no less the president and the chief minister visited Kono. Your district pledged a toast to him, and I'm sure there are certain discussions around the Kono District Council issue. Did you have a discussion with the chief minister?
Oh yes, we invited him because, as I said, our strategic plan has two core objectives. One, to situate the council as a corporate body that will respond to the needs of the economic people and be accountable to them. And as I speak, we've got support to upgrade our council, because it's in the squalid state, so that it can reflect that. We've got Sierra Leone, who have agreed to give us a website so that we can be visible and also interact with our diasporas. We are also buying equipment for our core staff. We intend to capacitate the councillors by providing motorbikes for them, so that will really situate them in a manner that will, enable them to be able to work, so they will not have any excuses. The second one was to look at the population and say, yes, we are providing services that will provide an enabling environment for them to thrive, but we need to go beyond that, because most countries in the world created their own private sector. Because in Sierra Leone we have a very weak private sector, and of course if you go to the province it's the same. So we decided that we should nurture our own private sector, and we started with the cooperatives, and the cooperatives are active in the agricultural sector. So we got the ministers of agriculture and trade and industry to go and participate in that program, and they accepted because they thought it was a good move, having cooperatives to be able to capacitate them so that we can have big farms, we can have agricultural value chains, will actually boost the agricultural sector itself. And the cooperative being in the trade sector, they were of the view that they can also provide training and other interventions. So as a result, we needed somebody higher to be the keynote speaker. So it was either the vice president or the chief minister or even the chairman for the energy and food assets and whatever. But the one that was available was the chief minister, so he invited him. So he actually went and participated. He gave the keynote address. He was very excited about the structures that we have created, to the extent that he even joined the cooperative, that he was a member of the cooperative. And he also pledged to give them 200,000 as a seed capital, to set up the office or to strengthen the office, and then be able to start rolling out cooperative farms or cooperative stores in some of the chiefdoms. And then he also took advantage of his presence there to engage the citizens so that he can brief them about governance and
the 5 game changers.
The 5 game changers and what is in it for Kono. And therefore he hosted a town hall meeting, and we ensured that representatives from all the chiefdoms were there. We had representatives also from various stakeholders. They were all there, and he was able to interact with them. He was able to answer questions. A lot of questions.
So what are the questions? I'm sure the people have many questions that they wanted to ask the chief minister, whom they have not seen.
The key question that everybody asked was, we have a very critical road link between Sierra Leone, Kono and Guinea, which is the Kamiando Road, which His Excellency the President launched sometime last year. And the road work started, but all of a sudden the contractors withdrew, and there were no clear indication as to when they will return. So the people wanted assurance whether that road will be done.
Did you give them the assurance?
Well, they gave the assurance that is the
tangible assurance.
What he said was that the initial arrangement was that the contractor, because it was going to be, the road was going to be built on the public-private arrangement, but initial contract arrangements were not in the favor of the contractor, because he was expected to do 20 kilometers, and doing 20 kilometers out of a 78 kilometer road means you are only starting at the end of the road, whereas you are not able to look at other areas where the road can be very challenging, and so therefore you will not be able to maximize the use of that road. So as a result, government is now renegotiating the contract, and he assured us in Kono that there is commitment, and therefore the road will be constructed. The other one also hinged around water supply for the city, which he was also able to give assurance that they have been able to secure the loan, but it has to go through a process. And people were also very concerned that His Excellency said Kono matter to him has not been there since his elections, so we're going to very strong message that the people are president. But I believe when we would have completed our strategic plan, where we will be able to identify all the core challenges that Kono faces, then we can ask the president to go and launch.
Okay.
Because if he says Kono matter to him, we cannot lie down and sleep and say president says Kono matter to him. We have to go and find out what are the issues, and we'll confront him with the issues.
Present the issues to him. Thank you very much, Chairman. Let me come to you again, Mr. Kalon. During the process of developing some of these development plans, do you think the people are convinced that this is not business as usual? We have example organizations will come in the past and say, okay, let us know what you need. These are the way we are going to address them, blah, blah, blah.
Well, a short answer would be no, but then I will even go further to say we are heartened by the commitment, by the interest, by the zeal, the enthusiasm that has been manifested, and that's encapsulated in the chairman Kono. We've had testimonies from some of our councils telling us that this is about the first time that we've had this consultative process. That in the past, when you say review council plan, you have a few people come to one room and then they talk, and after that the document is produced, and that's the plan. But in this case, yes, in this case you've actually had, I mean, you've listened to the chairman, you know, they've set up committees, and by the way, we have provided support, but we've been very, very mindful, and we've told them, this is your plan, you are the drivers. So even the consultations were led by the councils themselves, not us.
So when are you going to allow them to stand on their own feet? When are you going to win them from breastfeeding?
Once we have the plans, then they'll be winning. But then, even before winning them, councils need all the support that we can provide. Even the media we have to spotlight, the oasis of success. I mean, for want of a better term, there are best practices happening in some councils. I have seen firsthand some leadership. Some people, when you sit down and then they don't hear back from you, say after the consultation, some of these chairmen, including yours truly, the chairman here, will pick the phone and call you, say, what is happening? We haven't had back from you. We are anxiously waiting for our plans. So I have seen some of the commitment that is being displayed, but as well, you see the difficulties under which, I alluded to that before. Going to Kenema, for instance, that bridge, I don't know if you've...
Yeah, the bridge that collapsed.
The broken bridge, man, your heart is literally in your mouth. And we sat in the vehicle and we got across. And we did the same coming back. And when we came back, they said the bridge broke down. So these are the terrains in which we operate. Terrain is desperately poor. But it's not an excuse. It's not a justification for us to sit down and not take action. So we believe, and that's why we've enjoined the councils. The responsibility starts.
So what about building? Because if we are expecting much from this council to roll out some of these development plans, they also must have the capacity, what it takes.
Yes.
So because if they don't have the capacity, then they can't roll out what is expected of them. People are going to continue under development.
And that is very true, and that's why, if you remember when Chairman was saying that the breadth of support that the consortium has provided. It's not just been with the planning, it's been with capacity building, say adaptive leadership, growth mindset, and it's been targeted at a range of stakeholders, from new youth councillors, new women councillors, devolved sector staff, council core staff. So we hope that in the long term, these councils will be capacitated enough. Unfortunately, we've had decentralization since we reintroduced local councils for 20 years. And when you look at the raw indicators, they are still very stark. And by the way, we launched the LGST, the Local Governance and Services Tracker, that really looks at key indicators. Say at central government level, does central government transfer funds to councils on time? What's the volume of transfer? And that is not a story that is good to write home about. Because when you look at even last year, some of the councils told us we got one transfer, and then the rest were carried forward.
The following year?
Yeah, to this year. And they say, it's 2024 now.
Well, that is not unique to councils. Even some MDs will tell you that they receive their first quarter during the third quarter. Definitely,
I know. So it's that, and then on the council side, there are also key indicators that they should work on.
Okay.
So it's 360. It's ensuring that all of us, CSOs, private sector, the media, we come together and we support these people.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kalon. I'll come to you later. Mr. Kamara, now let us go from the ACC and the Human Rights Commission. These are two key institutions in Sierra Leone. What was impressive of these two institutions that you think the Liberian institutions learned from us?
Yeah, well, first of all, mode of operation. As a commission, the Human Rights Commission, we have been accredited with a status in 3 consecutive succession. And what that tells you is that we are in full compliance with the Paris Principles, which provides series of indicators, among which you have to have a very strong enabling legislation. And as a commission, the 2004 Act, HRCSL Act of 2004, is in compliance with the Paris Principles. And so if you are to showcase whatever, the founding law should be very strong. Even I just want to register here that we are, since it is now 20 years on, we are on the verge of reviewing our act. And for the ACC, we see
ACC has undergone so many reforms.
Exactly, and in fact, in the deliberations,
2018 or so.
Yes, in the deliberations, the deputy commissioner even registered that they enjoy not only the political will but the presidential will, and that is also good to share with the Liberian counterparts, because they were of the view that we have a whole lot of bottlenecks that will hinder operations. But I tell you, our mode of operation is key. we spoke about the area of independence, and normally we are questioned as a commission about our independence. But having an enabling law and even doing our work with guided by our operational plan is also enhancing our independence. There are structures, there are challenges in terms of independence. When you talk about the Paris Principle provides that the commission should be fully funded by the government, but like we are all talking about resource constraints. But then, you know, incrementally we are getting resources from the government, yes, even though we have support from other donor agencies. But then we do our operations devoid of government interference, and that's also one key issue about independence. You know, we talk about our staffing. We recruit staff, and then we receive support to ensure that we, you know, enhance the capacity of staff. So a whole lot of activities as a commission we do, and we just present the outcome of those activities to the President and Parliament, and it is in our act that at the end of every year we present a report to the President and Parliament. Okay. So that is an accountability.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kamara. Alhaji Manika, what were some of the areas that members did not agree on, but the Constitution either was silent or it was deferred for another review in the future?
Well, we did not have those
no issue like that?
No issue like that, because we agreed on all the other issues. Those that we did not agree on, we struck out, and the rest we fine-tuned them so that we can have an inclusive and strong constitution. But we did not leave anything for future deliberation. We completed the process and adopted the constitution. It's just that the committee is now doing the editing and the amendments, because there are so many modifications during the plenaries. So, but all the issues were addressed. Okay.
What about for affiliate bodies?
The area of affiliation.
Yeah, well, affiliation. What did the new constitution say about that?
It's just the same. Just that with the issue that we are having is that there is no way two communes can affiliate each other. There is no way. For example, SLAJ as an affiliate, as a commune, register as a commune, and then another media organization registers and commune, we cannot affiliate. We can recognize them, but we can't affiliate with them. So if you want to affiliate with SLAJ, you have to make sure that you have the numbers, membership, and you are working on media related issues, because our interest is promoting specialized area of reporting. For example, the last AGM when we went in Kenema, there were applications from Slbc and then also the health reporters. So now after this AGM, 2024 AGM, once we receive the final copies, we will start looking at those applications. Those that meet the criteria we will approve, and those that do not, then we will explain to them what the Constitution says, because it is not our own decision to make, but the Constitution.
What was the high point of this year's AGM?
The high point is, for me, is the adoption of the Constitution, and also the keynote address by Justice Abdullahi Masiambe Bangura,
the Supreme Court judge,
because he analyzed the Constitution from the preamble to the very last clause. So that's,
he was giving a thunderous applause.
Yes. And if you look at the newspapers,
he's among one of the best keynote speakers that SLAJ had ever invited.
Yes, because initially when we shared the flyer out, people were commenting that no, this man, there's some political affiliation around him. For us, the reason why we decided to invite him was when he was the chairperson at the PPRC. He did extremely good job for the opposition party, for them to have a very good constitution, that is the APC. So we thought it fit that this kind of person, we need to invite this speaker for him to go and explain to us about the rationale behind having an inclusive and strong constitution. Okay. And he never disappointed us.
And that was a very good thought.
Yeah.
I think members gave him, like I said, appreciated his presentation.
Yes, because even those that were complaining, they said, no, this is a very good. So we are grateful to him.
Thank you very much. Chairman, as we wrap up this edition of the podium, the volume of rains that the country registered this year were very high, and Kono is one of those districts that had high volumes of rain, and I'm sure it has caused some destruction as well. As a council, how have you been managing to correct some of the, to respond to some of the disasters that came with this heavy downpour?
Well, I've already told you one strategy in which we have gotten all stakeholders to come on board, including the chiefs, private sector, and we are conjoining our competencies. Everybody is bringing the little they have on the table. And as I speak to you, the youths have been mobilized. Vehicles are taking boulders to certain very critical areas so as to make the roads passable. And we have set up an adult committee. That committee will now be a permanent committee of feeder roads, so that whenever we have opportunity to do feeder roads, that committee will decide on the priorities. And also in some villages, we also have a situation where water was oozing out from the ground and broken houses. We went there, we mobilized support, we went and consoled them, and we also set up a team to see how we can address some of their issues. And then of course, the other thing I forgot to mention was that when the Chief Minister went, he actually presented some agricultural equipment, and some of them are going to be installed in strategic areas. And then he also visited the Kwedu School for the Blind, which has had a lot of problems since he was Minister of Education. So he actually asked me to intervene, and I have stabilized the situation, so I will make a formal report to him to say things have returned to normal in that school.
Okay.
And then finally, I want to assure the Kono people that if we continue with the strategy of intervention that we have all committed ourselves to, very soon Kono will be one of government subvention.
Okay.
And it will eventually become a donor district.
That's a very tall order.
It's possible because the potentials are there.
I remember before I go, my first interview with you as a chairman, you did promise the people of Kola you are going to be the accessible chairman, the district, you are going to take the council to the people. Have you done that?
I will just invite you to come to Kono, and then you will feel it.
Well, here is Augustine Sheku, who is the chairman of the Kono District Council, a former senior permanent secretary. Well, before we end, let me just read to you a public notice from the SLBC. The Sierra Leone Broadcasting Corporation wishes to inform its customers and the general public that it is proud to introduce its SLBC e-business platform. Well, this SLBC e-business platform now makes doing business much easier. You can now send your public announcements, TV birthday and obituary and adverts to the SLBC from your home or office. Just place a call or send the message to 034-835-419 or email commercial315@gmail.com. Sierra Leoneans living abroad can also do business with SLBC from their overseas homes. Well, our commercial representatives are set to address your concerns and give you quality service. Payment for SLBC e-business transactions can be done through mobile money transfer to 034-835-419. As the SLBC continues to rebrand, customers and the public are assured of efficient and quality service delivery. Well, SLBC, you can count on our professionalism. Well, that's how we end this edition of the podium. Thanks to all my guests, the Chairman, Kono District Council, Hassan Kalon from IGR representing the BASE Consortium, the Deputy Executive Secretary of the Human Rights Commission, and the Secretary General of SLAD, Alhaji Malika Kamara. On behalf of all of us, and my dedicated producer Salma Taba, I have been your host Asmi Uba. Till we join you again tomorrow for a fresh edition of the podium. God bless you. Goodbye.